and we're going to pick one and see where it goes.
Alright, so I think we should start out with financial literacy. We haven't talked about that one, and it's a very valuable topic. Why don't you start out for
Yeah.
a change?
Um, so I mean, it's a broad topic.
It is.
There's a lot of moving parts. I mean, one issue that I have personally come to learn a lot about recently, and I feel it's very not misunderstood. I don't think it's understood at all, but very mistreated, and that's debt. The concept of debt and how debt plays a role in our economy, and how because of the concept of debt since it's been introduced into society, how society has been like morphed by that debt. By Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like the existence of debt has been the cause of a great many effects in the way society has taken shape today. And one example, obviously, is college. That I'm sure you assumed I was good, but that's one. Just honestly, just one example. Like even literally any like more any loans, like that's essentially debt. Like home loans, 2008. Then credit card. That's literally the definition of the United States. Cheap credit and the consumer culture. That's literally the definition of the first world now,
But
and that's all driven by debt.
I mean, I agree with you that has some deteriorating effects on society. It can. But I also think that is necessary.
I don't think it's necessary, but I think it can be incredibly valuable. It's not necessary.
I don't mean necessary as in everybody should be in debt, but it's necessary for there to be a concept of debt. You know what I mean? Like for that to be available, because that allows for a lot of great things to happen.
Yeah. Okay. So you mean there's a lot of value to it?
Exactly.
It's not been like I thought what you meant is like you need it.
No.
And if you don't have it, you're not going to be able to function.
I don't think everybody should be in debt. As a matter of fact, I think I'm not going to say the majority, but a big percentage of people who are in debt should not have been taking those loans or whatever.
Yeah.
But I do think that the idea of debt has inherent value to itself.
Yeah, like anyone, honestly, debt can be used positively by anyone. But as long as you control the debt and the debt doesn't control you.
Exactly.
And so if you qualify past that requirement, then anyone can use. Then you can use that. Anyone can, but most people don't. That's
the thing. I mean, that can also be valuable for an individual because if it's in your price range and it's if you model your earnings and you have a stable job and you want to, for example, take out a mortgage or something of that sort, it can be very valuable because it lets people ascend before they have accrued the currency to do so. And I think even more important, it's for business. Which doesn't really apply in this in many of the topics that we talk about in terms of debt, like the education bubble and so forth. But I mean, just putting it out there for general knowledge, most businesses operate on debt.
Oh yeah, debt can be a very powerful force for progress.
Yeah. Most businesses, not most, but a big amount of businesses, they grow because of that.
Yeah.
Right? Because if I don't know, for example, a contracting company, if they get a big contract assigned to them, and maybe they can't afford it, that is what will allow them to go to that next step and play with those bigger players. And eventually, if they do everything right and they don't, take chunks of it for themselves, they'll eventually be in that level.
They're disciplined.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like a fake it till you make it type of thing in the broadest of terms.
Yeah, no, definitely. I was actually watching a video online, and it was a discussion between Trump and what's his name? The guy who wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad. What's his name? Robert Kiyosaki, or something like that.
Okay.
He's an Asian American, and he wrote one of like the most popular personal finance book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. And basically, those two guys, Trump and him, were talking exactly on this issue on debt. And before that, all I'd heard about was, debt is bad, debt creeps up on you, debt is like the reason why most people are trapped in, the cycle, not of poverty, but like their financial circumstance, they're trapped in it, and which is all true. But I never thought of, the opposite side of it. And like Trump, especially, he's a savvy businessman, and most of his wealth, or like not most of it, but a good portion of it came into existence because debt financing, and he had an option to get to finance things through debt, which eventually worked out for him.
Oh yeah, 100%. That's a thing. Something that I feel like we should talk about is the fact that a lot of people say that debt creeps up on you and
It does.
eats up your life, and it does. But if debt ends up creeping up on you, then you shouldn't. You should have not probably taken that debt and that loan in the first place, because that's a thing. People, especially, and I mean this in a broad terms. I don't mean. I don't. This is not generalization, but in general, people who don't have as many resources or are not as high on the socioeconomic plane, they see the concept of debt, and they, even though they don't actively say this, in the back of their mind they're thinking free money and let future me
100%.
take care of it. Yeah, exactly. And then once future me becomes present me, and the debt creeps up on you and it's eating you away and you're thinking about faking your own death, then you start blaming the banks, you start blaming society.
And you become the victim.
Yeah, exactly, because people love being victimized. And the matter of fact is that debt is there and it's free for anybody to take it, because it's stupid easy, especially in America, to go in debt and take loans. It's almost too easy.
Yeah, personally, I think it's too easy.
But I mean, there's positives and negatives to it, and it will be not only, but on its majority, irresponsible people who will go ahead and misuse the concept of debt and misuse the concept of loans, and then blame all their problems on society and on wealthier people. It's sad to say, but it's wealthier people, because they'll blame whoever's the CEO of the bank who gave them the loan.
I mean, to play devil's advocate, like there are people who just happen to be dealt very bad cards.
Oh no, that is very true.
And those guys, I mean, I'm all for, if they have to say what they have to do, what they have to I don't know, get justice, for lack of a better word. Like sure, there are always these circumstances which we have to accommodate, but I obviously what you're talking about is not those people.
No, yeah, I 100% agree, because